reading and discussion where we talked about the story that I present in the second half of my book, Nakshatra, the Authentic Heart of Vedic Astrology. Hey, everybody. So, this week, we're going to talk about Indra directly. And you may have thought, well, you already talked about Indra, but Indra is a little bit central to every story, so you're going to talk about Indra quite a lot. And also, we'll talk about him again in the future. But here's where we're going to examine Indra's part in the story. So far, we got the story of Varuna, the original king of the gods, and Vritra, the Asura who stole the waters from the rivers, from the ocean, and stuck them up in the clouds. And then we heard about the rain god who wanted to liberate the water from the clouds, but the fire god and the god of space prevented him from doing that. Then he kind of petitioned and politicked a bit and got them to attack. They helped him destroy this dragon demon and release the waters back down to earth. Now, the story will be what happened next. What next? The sequel. So let me just get my YouTube chat window open. So this one is called, the title for this session is When Number One Isn't the Best. Like, number one is not always the best. And what do I mean about that? What do I mean by that? What the story of Indra shows us is that being the king or being the leader or being in the first position doesn't always, or perhaps even often, equate to you actually having the talents and the skills that you should have to be there. Because often you get there by other circumstances. You get to the top by other circumstances. Look at YouTube astrologers. Who's on the top of the YouTube astrologer? It's not necessarily the person that's the best. It's the person that's been doing it the longest, most consistently. Look at Windows operating system. Why is it the most ubiquitous one? Because it's been around the longest, most consistently. And it had some luck. And it pulled some strings. So that's the deal with practically everything. The people that actually step up to be the leaders, and this is especially true, blood and co, presperant, no spiritual surrender. This is also especially true in spiritual circles. This is particularly true in spiritual circles. Like, if you're in a circle where, being aggressive and being the best is the thing that you want to be, like sports, then usually the people who are number one in sports really are the best, right? Because that's what it's all about. It's about getting the top, winning the game, whatever it takes. But especially in spiritual or philosophical or mystical circles, you'll find that the people who are the top dogs, calling the shots, that everybody respects and recognizes, usually are pretty good, but not really truly the best. All right, that's what we learned from this. All right, so ready? We'll get into the story now. I got my YouTube chat window open. And I got the chats from, excuse me, Instagram and Facebook to check. So here we go. So this section is called Politics in Paradise. Politics in Paradise, and it's going to be the first really clear introduction to the nakshatra Jyeshta and its god Indra. So Indra was not his name in the beginning. His name was originally Parjanya or something of that sort, which means the rainer. But it's only after this episode that he becomes known as Indra, which means king. So I say the rain god was a man of passionate ambition. This is really, really central to Indra's story. Passionate ambition. This is very, very essential and central to the Jyeshta Nakshatra. Passionate ambition to be the best. So the rain god is like that. He's a man of passionate ambition to grow. Like that's what rain does, right? It makes things grow. And become the best. And that's what Jeshta means. Jeshta means the best. Sometimes it means like the first or the original. But actually it means the best. The senior. The superior is the Jeshta. So that's the whole ambition of Jeshta, is to be the best. And that's Indra's whole shtick. That's his whole spiel. That's his whole thing. And that is also harmonious with the very nature of rain, is that it makes things grow. And Indra wants to grow. Okay, so when he returned from the successful defeat of Vritra, so this is the second movie in the series. The first movie in the series, if anybody out there is a Hollywood producer for Columbia Pictures or something, please hire me. I'll write you a great story. The first movie in the series is how the dragon demon kidnaps the water, and then they eventually liberate the water from this dragon demon. But the second movie, which begins today, is what happens next. So Indra returns to the heavens from the successful defeat of Vritra, and he sees it as a golden opportunity. This is the key. If you want to be the best, not the best, if you want to be number one, this is the key. You got to look for your golden opportunities. Right? Jeshta is always looking for its opportunity. It's never lazy in that sense. It's always examining the situation and thinking, what can I get out of this situation? Is this situation have a little vulnerability or a hole in it that I can exploit to my benefit? Can I squeeze something in there, put something in there that will make this work the way I want it to? So that's what Indra saw when he got back. He's like, well, this is perfect now. So he starts to whisper among the gods. And this is also the nature of Jeshta. Jeshta is not particularly direct. It's indirect and very complicated. So Indra starts to whisper amongst the gods. And what does he say? He says, psst, about this guy Varuna. If Varuna is truly fit to be our leader, which we all think, we all feel that Varuna is truly fit to be the leader of all the divines. But if it's really, maybe we're wrong. Because if he's really the leader, then why was it me who killed this demon? Why did I have to convince him to attack? What was he scared of? Was he scared? It's not good to have a leader that's scared. Why is he hesitating? Is that good? Is that manly to hesitate? Is that a king's disposition to hesitate? Why was he hesitating? And then later changed his mind. What's wrong with him? Maybe he's not what we thought. Or maybe he is what we thought. Maybe he is great. But if he is great, that means that he must have a soft spot in his heart for criminals. Because why didn't he punish this criminal? This Asura kidnapped all the water. That's a criminal act. Why didn't he punish him right away? So is he partial? Maybe to his own family? Because remember, Varuna is Asura. Nagas are also Asuras. So they're like one group, one type of species of divinities. So Indra would plant this idea. He's probably partial to his own camp. This is so much politics all the time. Oh, you're Hispanic. You're a Hispanic politician. You'll be partial to the Hispanics. Oh, you're a black politician. You'll be partial to the blacks. Oh, you're a white politician. You'll be partial against the blacks and the Hispanics. Right? It's constantly. So this is the root of it. This is the root of this is the original politics. I guess Varuna is partial to his species. I guess Varuna is partial to the Asuras. If he wasn't afraid and truly is the strongest among us, why did I have to be the one to remove Vritra's head with my thunderbolt? Now, this is another thing about politicians, is that they don't quite lie, but they don't quite tell the truth. And this is another thing with Jeshta, that it's difficult. Jeshta is very sophisticated nakshatra and complicated nakshatra. It's not a straightforward nakshatra. Like Chitra is very open and straightforward. But Jeshta is quite the opposite. And so these two have a hard time getting together. But a politician or a Jeshta type of person won't tell you a lie, actually, because they don't want to be... They don't want to be go to jail. They don't want to be caught telling a lie. But they will tell you a stretched or twisted version of the truth, which is practically a lie. So right here, Indra's got a lie going on. He says he killed him. He's saying, I killed the Vritra, the demon. But there's no... Indra, remember the first fight? The first fight, Indra went off and tried to kill Vritra by himself, and he couldn't do it. Because he didn't have the help of Agni and the Indragni, the lightning bolt. He didn't have the help of Varuna. And he didn't have the help of the armies of the gods. So anyway, he says, why did I have to be the one to remove Vritra's head with my thunderbolt? If he's not partial to the dragon, why did he hear it with my first attempt? All right, so Indra's talking around like this after he gets back. I make Jeshta sound bad because I don't like it. So that's my... Somebody in the comments says, oh, Jeshta sounds bad. That's a flaw that I have. I don't like Jeshta. I don't like this kind of... I hate politics. I hate politicians. So forgive me for that. I always point out the bad side of Jeshta. But sometimes I try to put in some good things. Sophisticated, complex, indirect, able to achieve what it wants, passionate, able to be the best. These are some of the good traits of Indra. These are the traits of Indra and Jeshta which can be put to good use. Okay. So Indra wins over the gods to his side by this kind of whispering. Eventually, all the gods, even Agni, was convinced that Varuna was unfit to rule and that the rain god should replace him. So this is what happened. After the battle with Vritra, where they defeat Vritrasura, Indra comes back, and then the next thing that you know in the Vedas, Indra is the king of the gods. How did it happen? It happened like this. He convinced all the gods that he would be a better ruler, and then they went to Varuna all together. So with all the gods behind him, the gods of rains came before Varuna, which is really odd, isn't it? And this is really... The irony is so funny. The god of rains is coming to the god of the sea. Because remember, Varuna is the god of space, but he dwells at the bottom of space, which is where all the liquids are. So he's the god of the seas also. So the god of rain is coming to the god of seas, or the god of clouds is coming to the god of the sky. You can see it that way too. It's the little boy coming to the big boy. Even in terms of the tale, Varuna is older than Indra. So, and they're brothers. This is also interesting. So anyway, Indra comes to Varuna and says, the gods have asked me to act as their spokesman and inform you of their opinion. They wish to express that your recent failure to punish Vritra has filled them with doubt. And they are no longer sure if you are truly the most powerful and impartial amongst us. Their doubts may or may not be true, but we all know that the best king should be beyond reproach. And this is a Vedic principle, too, that really makes it difficult to be a king. The Vedic principle is that an ideal king would be so good that you wouldn't even be able to make up a bad story about that person. Just wouldn't even be conceivable. And this is why in the story of Ram, Lord Ram, Ramchandra, Sri Ram, he has problems because he's dealing with that ideal. This Ram's story is very problematic because his personal life gets thrown into a washing machine because he's got to deal with that ideal. Anyway, Indra is telling Varuna, maybe you didn't do anything wrong, but still the leader should be without reproach. That's one of the principles. The leader should be beyond reproach. The ideal leader. So you're not the ideal leader because there's a doubt. People have doubts about you. And also, notice what Indra is doing here. I try to depict it in such a way to make Jeshta's nature clear. He's not saying, I think. He's not saying, I want to tell you, and this is my opinion. So notice that politicians do this, political people do this, crafty people do this. It is their opinion, but they make it seem like it's other people's opinions. And that's the nature of Jeshta Nakshatra in the sutra itself. It says, Srinat Pratisrinat, Srinat Parastat Pratisrinat Avastat. So Jeshta operates by evoking attacks and then instigating counterattacks, and it just sits back and watches. So it doesn't directly attack. Jeshta doesn't directly attack, but it evokes an attack, or it. And see, the sutra that Nakshatra Sutra has for Jeshta is Srinat Parastat. It requires attacks. Pratisrinat Avastat, so that it can counterattack. Think about this story. Indra, all along, is ambitious and wants to be the best. That's his nature. So, but what he needed to be able to do this was he needed Vritra to attack. He saw that as his golden opportunity. This is what I mean about one of the qualities of Jeshta, which can be very good, is that they can identify, this is my moment. Like a snake. It just waits. Then all of a sudden it just sees the opportunity and then phew. So that's a good thing. You become very successful. You can be very undefeatable like that. So Indra saw, this is my golden opportunity. So remember 9/11, the attack on America? That's another super, super big, large scale Jeshta illustration. The attack on America, whether Bush engineered it or not, he utilized it to do what he wanted to do, which was attack Iraq. So that's what Jeshta is all about. It's about getting the opportunity to do what you want to do, but making it look justified. So, for example, say that there's an astrologer that's giving controversial information. Just say that. Then people will want to attack that person back because of fear of defamation. But if they just attack, then they'll look bad. So what they do is they look for something that astrologer did that would justify an insult or something. They'll look for it. Oh, this was insulting, and now I'm just counterattacking. So that may hypothetically happen sometimes. Okay, so I wonder how Varuna reacted. Anybody? Yeah, I wonder how Varuna reacted. Let's finish the story, and then I'll see if you have questions about this. How do you think Varuna reacted? And this will give you also a comprehension of Shatabhishak and how it would react to the manipulations of politicians. What Shatabhishak would do, and what Varuna did, was just take his hands off and say, I'm not going to deal with this. I'm out of here. See you later. This is ridiculous. So what Varuna did was he didn't offer any protest at all. No. The thing about Shatabhishak is it has 1,000 interests. Shatabhishak. It has 1,000 interests. So if you cut off one of its interests, it's not the end of the world. It has other things that it's interested in. It's not like Jeshta, which is one-pointed, or Vishaka, which gets very one-pointed. And if you stand in the way of that one goal, it's life-threatening to the person. Shatabishak is more diffused in its passions and aspirations. So if you want to cut it off from getting cookies, then it just goes over there and gets ice cream. So, hey Kaylee. So, that's what Varuna did. He didn't really do anything. He didn't protest at all. In fact, he was quite stoic, which is his nature at times. So, there's so many cute, like, hearts and things exploding on this Instagram screen. I wish I could just have that on my computer screen all the time. All right, so Varuna offers no protest. And then so Indra just continues, the gods have asked me to take your place as their leader. And what does Varuna reply? Tatastu. So be it. Let it be. Now why? There's another thing about Satyabhishek that this illustrates. One thing that it illustrates is Varuna's got other things on his mind too. He doesn't care if he's not the king of heaven. He'd be the king of something else. But another thing that it illustrates about Satyabhishek and Varuna is Satyabhishek also means 1,000 eyes, as we explained in the first episode of this series. So, and that's Varuna's nature, is he sees things from everybody's angle. So that's why he didn't just immediately say Vitra is wrong. We gotta destroy him, because he could see things from so many different angles, and he came to a complex conclusion about it. That this is better if we don't directly attack this demon. Just let him lose the waters. The water's going to escape. So he said, I can see it from all these different points of view. And I can also see it through Indra's point of view, where he wants to be the king really bad. So let him be the king. The person who wants something tends to do it really well. Okay, so the rain god declared, from today forward, I shall be known as the king, Indra. So now, previous to this, Varuna was called Indra. And there's still statements in the Veda where Varuna names himself Indra. What is that? Varunas. Aham Indro Varunaste. It's a statement straight from Rig, I think, Rig Veda, where Varuna is directly saying, I'm Indra. Me. He says, me, Indra. And then he goes on to say something else. So, at this point, the rain god says, you're not Indra anymore, now I'm Indra. Because that's what Indra means, king. Best. Indra is synonymous with Jeshta, which also means best. And you shall remove yourself from paradise and retire to the bottom of the deepest ocean. As the custodian of the seas, you shall become the husband of the rivers, to recompense your crime of failing to protect Appas in her time of need. So this is actually kind of gracious on Indra's part, because usually Indra tries to scoop up the ladies. Indra is really, really into that sort of thing, as we'll hear in a future story. But this was kind of gracious on Indra's part. What his thought process here is, you're at fault for not immediately rescuing the goddess of the rivers. So your punishment should be that you should forever protect her. Right? And so this is why you should no longer be the king of the gods, and even relegate yourself from being the god of space, but just dedicate yourself to being the god of the seas, at the bottom of the ocean, at the bottom of the universe, where you stay. Stay down there, and you stay with her and take care of her. So that's how Appas became known as Varuni. Varuni. So she and Varuna became married, as we say these days. They became partners. So actually, Varuna thought, great. So Varuna again said only, so be it, which is a great thing if you just learn this statement in Sanskrit. Tatastu. 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 It's a cool thing to just, as a cool statement to carry around in your back pocket. You can use it in so many different situations. Whenever you want to say okay, instead just say tatastu. It'll be really fun. People will be like, huh? So it means something like let it be or so be it. Or also if somebody, the perfect time to say tatastu is if somebody asks you for something and you want to give it to them, then you can just give it to them and say tatastu. So Varuna, again, that's what he says. Then he complies without complaint because he thinks that, this judgment is good and right. I'm not really the best one to be the king, I guess. So he stood up and strode out of paradise and has never once made any attempt to reclaim paradise. This is actually why Indra didn't need to kill Varuna. Because he's aware of Varuna's nature. And also because he's his brother, it would be very difficult to kill him and get away with it. But Indra didn't need to. Usually politicians have to kill their enemies because of the risk of their retaliation in the future. But in this case, he just banished Varuna. Because he knows that Varuna is ultimately a man of his word. All right, I'll look at your questions now. Because that's the end of this particular part of the story. Did Indra really do better than Varuna? Not at all. This is what the upcoming stories is going to be how Indra can't fill Varuna's shoes and the different ways that the different gods try to help Indra be able to handle this new task. Let's see what else we got. Any other questions? Nicholas says Varuni is also a wife of Baladev. Interesting. She's got 2 husbands. Any other questions? If you want to ask questions, these are Eddie Rosario. Where are these stories written? They were written in the Puranas. And what you're getting now is like a new Purana. So this little sutta right here, this like half-breed, is narrating this to you because what a Puranic narrator will do is take the stories that they've heard from this place, that place, this place, from this Purana, that Purana, this Purana, this sage, that sage, and put them together into a narrative and give it to you. So there's like no place where you'll get this as a straight translation. And let me check my YouTube thing. All right. Would having a planet in Jeshta indicate success? It's going to indicate this kind of political intrigue and the striving to be successful. You're going to be contending with other people who also want to be the best. So there'll be a contention and there'll be a lot of subterfuge and waiting for the opportunity to strike, but this other person is waiting for you to have some opening too. There's a lot of, when you have planets in Jeshta, you become involved in espionage and intrigue and politics on a personal level usually, but sometimes on a grand level like Trump. Trump is Maga and Jeshta. If you have the tougher planets in Jeshta, it's usually a better indicator that you deal with this stuff productively. But if you have the softer planets in Jeshta, it's usually an indicator that this stuff kind of drives you nuts. Or you get this stuff in areas of life where it's not really so pleasant. Like in romance with Venus and Jeshta, or in friendships with Mercury and Jeshta, or in business with Mercury and Jeshta. Business is a little bit okay. Jupiter and Jeshta. I kind of like I like it on a raw level because Indra needs, as you're going to find out, somebody asked, how did Indra do after he took over? One of the things that he really needed was Brihaspati. He really needed Brihaspati to give him the intelligence that Varuna had. So Brihaspati is the deva for the planet Jupiter. So Brihaspati with Indra's nakshatra, it does have a nice flavor to it. So I think that it's likely to indicate really good success, but I would think that there would also be a flip side to it where there's kind of intriguing morals. Let's put it that way. The morals are complicated and sophisticated, and they can be tied around in a few different ways to get it done, to get the job done. To Machiavelli, see, I wonder if Machiavelli had a very strong Jeshta somewhere, because Jeshta and Vishaka, they're very Machiavellian. Indra is also present in Vishaka Nakshatra. We'll talk about that. Any other questions? Let's see what we got over here on Facebook. Oh, let me check my Instagrammy. Any more in Varuni? Yeah, we're going to hear more about Appas. A little bit more. I remember you told Jeshta people should be humble to avoid enemies' attacks. That's right. See, that's the life lesson of Jeshta. If you're dealing with Jeshta energy, you're going to be dealing with people trying to provoke you. So the best solution to that is not let yourself get provoked. Just remember that. Like, I see this all the time with my youngest daughter and my oldest son. In their worst moments, in their worser moments, she provokes him again and again and again and again and again and again until he pops. Something she does bugs him so bad, and he starts yelling at her or something, and then mom or dad will get mad at him for being aggressive or yelling or whatever at his sister. But actually, it's her. It's her fault. She engineered it because she likes to see mom and dad get mad at her older brother. So you see, that's how Jeshta operates. In everybody, whether you have a planet in Jeshta or not, I have to recheck my daughter's chart. Whether you have a planet in Jeshta or not, Jeshta is a part of the world. And this is just a part of the dynamic of life. So what my son would do to deal with this Jeshta energy more better is realize this person is actually, if I react to this person, I'm giving them what they want. It's the opportunity that they want. So I'm going to be patient. I'm going to be like Varuna. See how Varuna dealt with Indra? It's just like, okay, whatever. A working Jeshta seems to show a knack for being manipulative and turning the tides of battle into one's favor, especially in group session. I agree, Eddie. That's a good statement. The part that I like the best is it's got a knack for turning the tides of battle to one's own favor. Jeshta has a good knack for using adversity to its advantage. Okay, let's see what we got over here. Mitra Varuna, you're going to hear about Mitra Varuna too. Read my go ahead, guys. I think so far I've only sold 70 copies or something, which is kind of good, but kind of like, dudes, this is the Nakshatra Sutra. It's the Taittiriya Brahmana. It's the first time that it's been translated in like a complete form. Go get it. Like, go to Amazon.com and just search Nakshatra Victikara. Nakshatra. Or just search Victikara and you'll find this book, Nakshatra, on Amazon.com. Get it. And then read the second half too. The second half is all the stuff that we're talking about right now. Everybody's like, oh, I want to know more about Varuni. I want to know more about Indra Varuna. It's all in there already. But we're going to go bit by bit here in the videos. And just get it, because you got to support this translation of this study, to support this work by buying it. So please. All right. Should we go on? You want to hear the next bit? Or do you have any more questions about Indra and Jeshta? The next thing is about Ashleshas and the Nagas. We got like 20 minutes, so I wouldn't mind going on. Oh, nice. Thank you. Right. Flower says she's got a Jeshta descendant, and she just recently had some, like, schoolgirl, like a probably a high school type, trying to, like, pretend she's going to beat her up. So it's very good not to react to that. All right. Soft Nakshatra has no chance with Jeshta. It's true. And also, there's certain people that just are not going to get along, but they should tolerate each other. You don't have to fight with them. Like, you just learn how to tolerate or move away from the stuff that you can't deal with, the stuff that you hate. So people that have nakshatras that have a lot of honesty to them, nakshatras that like to be really direct, and nakshatras that are more giving than taking, are not gonna sit in the same room with Jeshta very well. But nakshatras that are really, like, ambitious, motivated, let's go, let's do it, let's get better, let's go, let's get more, let's advance our career, let's advance our status, let's advance our station, they're going to do great with Jeshta Nakshatra. So look at the President of the United States, Magha and Jeshta. That's a great combination. It's not a cuddly teddy bear combination, but it's a great combination for a person that's going to become the President of the United States. All right. Let's go on then. Oh. I'm going to tell you about Jeshta's symbols. People say umbrella. You know what? I'm going to look this up. I need to look it up. If you're on YouTube, I can probably find this right now and flip this on the screen. Let me show you this picture of the stars. Let's look. Where is it? This is going to be in my pictures. Where is this thing? Or maybe it's in documents. If I can't find it in 2 seconds, I'm going to give up. But I have pictures of the stars themselves. Okay, I'll give up. I'll do this at some other time. Protection from the umbrella, I think it's a bit overdone. But you're going to see at one point we're going to tell the story of how Indra needs this. We're going to hear the story of the Vritra again in more detail, and all the things that Indra needed. And one of the things that he needed was armor. And so that's some of the nature of this umbrella. Really is to shield oneself, to armor oneself. Yeah, it's very difficult to understand the nakshatras correctly without really knowing the stories. Because you just see a picture of an umbrella and you can think, wow, this is a pretty nakshatra. Yay. Like Mary Poppins flies in the sky with an umbrella. But the umbrella means protection. And it's not protecting other people. It's protection, like armor. It's a kavach. It's a kavacha, which is like a magical talisman. Protection. That's funny, actually. Somebody just said, who said this? This is a great comment. Dead ocean. Dead ocean dweller. Wow, that's kind of cool. Varuna-ish. Is he the? He's the rain god. Is that the correlation to rain god and the umbrella? It's very funny. Maybe that does have to do with it. There's also an incident. No, but it's the umbrella is a symbol for protection, and that's why people wear umbrella-shaped things in Vedic jewelry. Has a lot of umbrella shapes to it, like the earrings and so forth. You've probably seen them even today if you go to an Indian sari store and you just see like the 3 umbrellas. And kings always have umbrellas on them. So it's because the umbrella protects you. If you're wearing an umbrella, it's a good luck charm. Wearing an umbrella-shaped thing, it's a good luck charm for not getting attacked. One of the stories that we'll read at some point that's in this book is how a demon once snuck into Indra's palace and stole his mother's umbrella charm. Which you might think, well, that's totally crazy. But if you know the magical situation here, that means that he's opening up the vulnerability for Indra's mother to be attacked. So then what happened to happen in relation to that is also pretty interesting. So here, this is an interesting comment on YouTube from Evelyn. What I find interesting but confusing at the same time is how different energies can be within the same sign. If you take an example of how different Anuradha and Jeshta are. Well, this is because the nakshatras are describing a different realm of space. Okay? So, there's 3 realms to space. There's the central, middle, and outer realms. Bur is central, Bhuva is middle. It's so sometimes called Antariksha in older books. And Swa, which means the outermost part. So you've got the Bur is the earth and its atmosphere. Bhuva is the solar system, where there's planets and the sun and the moon. And the way that everything about 12 sign, 12 house astrology is all in the Bhuva and Bu. The houses are based on the Bu, the local space, the immediate central space, because the houses are based on the ascendant, which is the horizon, your horizon point. So the houses are from the Bu, the central space, and then the planets going around the earth are the Bhuva. That realm of space is dominated by the sun. Antariksha is where the sun dwells. The sun dwells in the middle earth, the middle sky. So the sun and the moon there, they have their interplay. And it creates these 12 zones. So the Rashis, the signs, the zodiac signs, they're in that middle space. And then there's an outer layer of spaces, which is where there's stars. And the stars are the constellations, and that's what nakshatras are. So these 3 levels are independent from each other. Like if you had a cool mechanical thing, I want to build one actually that's got like 3 spheres. One in the middle, another one around it, another one around it. You can turn the outer one without turning the middle one. You can turn the middle one. They're independent. So the nature of the outer layer of space can be very different. You can have Anuradha and Jeshta, and then on the middle layer of space, you could have any other Rashi over the course of history can overlap over that. And sometimes it's very fascinating. But how fascinating or confusing is it? It's not that much, because look, even in the middle space, even if you just deal with planets and signs and houses, when you have a chart, you'll find it very interesting. Same way that you got a sign like Taurus. Now you could put Mars in Taurus, or you can put Venus in Taurus. So the same way, over the course of history, the way history changes, the way that the the nakshatra's space interacts with the outer nakshatra space, the way that it interacts with the middle Rashi space or the zodiac space is fascinating and changes in the same way that the planets in the signs change. So it is fascinating. A lot of people, like for example, in the debate that I did with Richard Fiddler, one of the arguments that he gave was, well, I mean, you can't put Maga. Maga is Leo, definitely. It is Leo, or Rohini is Taurus. It just is. You can't really go anyplace else. But like you said, like it's really weird. Like you have two or three very different nakshatras in one sign. So why are you just picking one? Like if it's true that this nakshatra just can't be in any other sign, then they should all be like that. They should all be fit in like clockwork. But they're not, and sometimes they don't. But sometimes you get this really powerful coincidence, good or bad. Sometimes you get Revati in Aries, where it is right now. Sometimes you get it in Taurus. You're going to have different kind of family life and parenting in the periods of history where Revati is in Pisces compared to when it's in Aries compared to when it's in Taurus. It's just that way. Okay. Want to stop? I'll see if there's any other questions, because now we ran out of time to do the next section. The next section is going to be the Nagas and their alternate paradise. So the next week we're going to talk about what happened when Varuna left. When Varuna left paradise, what happened? What happened with the rest of the Asuras? Varuna was an Asura, so there was actually an ethnic purge. Indra performed an ethnic purge from from paradise. So John says best to just ignore the sun sides. I don't think so. I don't agree. Elder sister meaning? Jeshta means the best. So the oldest child is called Jeshta because they're the one that is the most important in running the family. They run the rest of the kids. In Vedic culture, it's very easy to be a parent and have tons of kids, because first of all, you have aunts and uncles and grandparents all over the place all the time, and cousins and all that stuff. And second of all, you have a system where your children themselves become babysitters for the other children, and that's ingrained in the society, and it's just something that they pick up as easy as they pick up an iPad these days. So they call the oldest child Jeshta because that's a respect for the fact that they're oldest, and the rest of the children should listen to them as if they're like a third parent. Is it true that Jeshta hates Rojo? Because Rojo is the moon's favorite nakshatra. You mean Rohini? No, I have not heard that before. Doesn't make any sense. Why is Rahu debilitated in Jeshta? Wouldn't it do good there? Why? Don't even worry about Rahu's debilitation. And why do you guys constantly think that planets are debilitated or exalted in nakshatras? Planets are debilitated or exalted in signs, not in nakshatras. The whole thing about planetary dignity is from the 12 signs. Why is the moon considered the most important planet for nakshatras? It's the same way that the sun is the most important planet for zodiac signs. The moon is the most important planet for nakshatras because the nakshatra wheel is based upon the moon's motion. The zodiac wheel is based on the sun's motion. It's a division of the sun's orbit, apparent orbit. And then exactly conversely, the nakshatra wheel is a division of the moon's apparent orbit. So the zodiac signs, the 12, are a division of the year, and the nakshatra wheel is a division of a month. Here's another interesting thing. Play context, isn't the moon a feminine planet? We talked about this in my video somewhere. I mean, and all the time that I'm not doing videos, you guys could look in the backlog of videos and you'd still be getting like new information. So, the moon's the gender is, in some physical things are solid. So this drum, for example, it takes a lot to break it or change it because it's physical. So similarly, gender in a physical shape is less mutable. Though it is still mutable, people can change their gender physically. But gender, in beyond the physicality of the sexual organs, gender is a highly mutable thing. And it's highly magnetic and polarized. So when there's something very, very male, it feminizes the other object. And similarly, when there's something that's very, very female, it masculinizes the other object. So when you take planets and compare them to other planets, you'll wind up with an evaluation that Venus is very, very female, Moon is also quite female, etc. But when you take planets and compare them to signs or nakshatras, all of these planets look very masculine because the signs and the nakshatras are very, very feminine. So the moon is a feminine planet, that's fine. But compared to the stars, it's a male. And even if it's a female, that doesn't mean that the night couldn't be based on it. The night sky is the nakshatra wheel. The night is female. So let's see what else you got there. Eddie wants to know why the ascendant moon resonation technique works so strongly without incorporating the sun, because it's very lunar. But really, you should incorporate everything. Let's see, any other questions? So if someone has a masculine nakshatra like Jeshta, now when you say this is a masculine nakshatra, we're saying this is masculine in relation to the other nakshatras. It has masculine qualities to it. So if someone has a masculine nakshatra like Jeshta and in a feminine planet, first of all, get the words right, because you can't put a nakshatra in a planet. You can't put a sign in a planet or a nakshatra in a planet. The planets are in signs and the planets are in the nakshatras. So if someone has a masculine nakshatra like Jeshta with a feminine planet like the moon in it, then it's more coming out in the subconscious than in the conscious. No. If you have, first of all, Jeshta is not a particularly masculine nakshatra. So it's wrong to characterize it like that. It's ambitious, yes, and that's a male trait, but it's not direct. So it lacks the male trait of being direct and straightforward. So Jeshta is a mixed nakshatra, first of all. And so if you want to do a gender assessment with Jeshta, just count, it's a fairly neutral male-female spot. So that doesn't work. Jeshta in relationships, you have to be careful. Venus and Jeshta, you got to be careful with those relationships. You'll get manipulated. You can enjoy the manipulation. It doesn't have to be bad. You can have a superior partner who, runs your life, and that's great. They can benefit you a lot. But you have to not fight with that. You have to be okay with that. Magga, somebody wants to know. We're going to get to Magga. You can read the book to find out right away, or you have to wait till we get to Magga. He said it again. Somebody else said it. When Jeshta is in a malefic planet, get it right, please. Otherwise, your whole thinking is wrong, and then your basic way. Everything's going to be wrong if your basics are wrong. So never say Pisces is in Venus. Say Venus is in Pisces. Never say Jeshta is in the moon. It's not in the moon. The moon is in Jeshta. Jeshta, that's why they're feminine. The things go in there. The signs and the nakshatras. They're space. Okay? When there's a malefic planet in Jeshta and it has an aspect of the moon on the moon, you're trying this question again. What is the outcome? What do you think? Just it's okay. If you get the basics right, you'll be able to figure out these things that seem so sophisticated because it's nothing but a combination of basics. So all you got to know is if the planet is aspecting your moon, then it's going to have a significant effect upon your life because it affects the way that you see the world. So a malefic planet in Jeshta is generally pretty good. So we can hope for the fact that having like a political outlook on life, understanding politics and understanding how intrigues work is a really important part of the way you interact with the world. That can be the result of a malefic in Jeshta that impacts the moon. Though you got to look at the chart. To read a chart, you need to look at so many stuff that it is actually impossible to tell you all the stuff you need to look at. You need to look at the fourth house. Maybe this impacts the person's mother because it's the moon. So to check that, you have to look at the fourth house, the fourth lord, the D12, the 12th divisional chart. And maybe this impacts the person's mental health. So you have to look at the D16 instead of the D12, and also the fourth house and the fourth lord, like that. So rather than me give you answers to specific questions, if you learn from me what the things are all about, you'll be able to sort it all out for yourself. Play Context wants to know why Indians consider the moon more important than the sun. First of all, question the idea that maybe they don't consider the moon more important than the sun. Who told you that? I know a lot of people told you that, but maybe they didn't get it right. A lot of the entire Vedic ritual is based on the sun, not the moon. The whole Shatapatha Brahmana is about all the rituals that have to be done when the sun is in this sign or that sign. The Rig Veda talks about the year being, ruled by the sun. The sun is like one of the most important gods in Vedic culture, more than the moon. So maybe they're not so interested in this. But the thing is, when you popularize astrology and you make it mass media, you have to abandon the ascendant. So the reason why you have to abandon the ascendant is like, I can't possibly know what all of your ascendants are. And nor is there an easy way for me to tell you what your ascendant is, how to calculate it, how to figure it out on your own. But I could easily say, if you were born between March 21st and April 21st, you're an Aries. And then you know that. And then we can start talking about Aries. And currently, Saturn is in Capricorn, and Capricorn is the 10th house from Aries, and therefore X. Right? So it's way easier, and you can actually get somewhere with mass, like astrological readings given to a mass of people, if you use the sun sign. In India, their calendar was lunar. They use a calendar with moon phases and moon constellations to define what a day was. So just as it's easy for me to say if you were born between March 21st and April 21st, you're an Aries, in India, it's very easy for me to say if you were born in this month on this tithi. Or actually, it would just be easy for me to say, what's your birthday? And the way that you would tell me what your birthday is would describe where the moon was, the moon's nakshatra, because the calendar was built on that. So because of that, the way that mass astrology readings works in Indian climate could use the moon, which is more personalized because it's a faster planet than the sun. So that's why in the West, where the calendar was not lunar, they went to the solar sign to do their mass media astrology, whereas in India, to do mass simple astrology advice, you ask for the moon sign, and because people will know what it is. All right. Let me see this. Somebody says something about. Somebody said something about Vic ignores the rulership of Vimshodri. I don't ignore the rulership of Vimshodri. Look, somebody's named Varuna. And Varuna asked, what happens when planets exchange signs like Jupiter in Jeshta and Mars in Mula? Jupiter in Jeshta and Mars, Scorpio and Sagittarius. Just you get your nakshatras out of the picture. Here, now you're talking about exchanging houses, so just think about the houses. All right, I'm going to stop here. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I love all the look at this now. Facebook is lighting up with these hearts. All right, everybody, thank you so much, and have a great day or night or year or week. See you next week.